So yeah, in case if you didn't know where you are, let's just get that out of the way. This is Remix Austin Meetup, the August 2nd edition. This is a monthly meetup that we run here at ETH, the Eastside Tech Hub, which is HEB and Baver's headquarters, or digital headquarters, that is. And it is a monthly meetup to talk about Remix. What's Remix? Remix is a web framework built on top of React. It's a full stack framework, so you can build anything that your heart can imagine or brain can imagine. I guess in the Western culture, your brain does the thinking, right? So anyway, so that's what Remix is, and that's what it's for, and it's very cool. And this meetup is all about just learning and sharing ideas and bouncing off each other. Yeah, which is fun. So one thing that we love in the Remix community is we love talking about progressive enhancement and sorry, that was the wrong word. We love talking about using the platform and trying to get the most out of what the web already gives us for free and not trying to do anything in user land that we don't necessarily have to do. So a cool kind of step towards that for the whole web is the idea of the page transition API, which fortunately I don't have to read up on because Colby's just going to teach us all about it today, which I'm super excited about. So page transitions via the platform. So if you're ready, Colby, you can take it away.
Like Luke said, I'm Colby, full stack developer, currently working at Reforge, and a Remix enthusiast, I guess, despite the fact I don't use it in my day-to-day job for the second job in a row. And like you said, Remix, one of the reasons why I like Remix, I'm a big full stack framework person, regardless of what it is. I just think you should use a full stack framework. But and I kind of don't really care too much about the difference between the full stack frameworks, but why I'm kind of pro Remix is because of the platform. It's like, philosophically speaking, a lot of the things that they do and leverage the platform just make things simpler. You learn the web. It's kind of one of the catchphrases. You learn the web as you learn Remix. So I heard about page transitions from the platform, just doing it natively, and that sounded awesome. And I decided, let me do some research, figure out how that plays together with Remix. But first, let's figure out what in the world page transitions are. So first, we got to talk about our good old battle between the SPAs and the MPAs. What's another word for MPA? Well, web page. That's what they used to be called. And navigation, one of the key differences, there's a lot of differences. I'm not going to get into an MPA versus SPA battle, although that would be fun. That's probably a different talk. But from the big one that I want to talk about here is the differences in navigation. So in a multi-page app, aka a web page, when you're navigating from one page to another, full page reload. Right, you see the browser go to a completely different URL, a little bit of a refresh, and there you go. Not the greatest user experience, right? You're transitioning, and you get a little blip of the loading, but in exchange, incredibly effing simple, right? It's just a dang HTML file. Usually, you put it there. You don't need a router. Web servers just do this naturally. It becomes very simple. Let's talk about SPAs. This is typically JavaScript. Right, not the browser. You have to have some JavaScript router. Every framework has their own code du jour. Remix is using React router. Thank you. So you got to use JavaScript, right? That means you got to ship JavaScript, which is inherently, by definition, a security thing. It's probably going to be a performance thing too. Now you have to navigate. You have to control. Okay, what route goes to what? Right? There's a whole lot of things that now you have to do that the browser just did. But in exchange, way better user experience, right? You have control over it. You can put a loading icon. You can get an animation, transition, crossfades, all this good stuff. You are in control. So it becomes a trade-off. Everything about this engineering game is about trade-offs. And there's been the classic MPA versus SPA navigation trade-off. So let's talk about view transition. How does this play into this battle? So the quick little description here is this is a browser native way to take control of your navigation, even in a web page, a simple web page. So now with this, the selling point here is I can get SPA-like navigation, SPA-like user experience more specifically, but still have the simplicity of a multi-page navigation. Mostly CSS powered, once again, using the platform. There's just a little bit of JavaScript, which is a big plus for me because the more JavaScript, if they said that this API was just like 100% JavaScript, I'd be like, throw it in the trash. Just another JavaScript thing. But it's actually mostly CSS as we get into it. So this is pretty cool. This comes, this is a link to the Google Docs. This is Jake Archibald. He's got like, I think that video has a gazillion views. This is kind of like one of the announcements of the Vue Transition API. So we want to get into detail. That's a great place. I'm gonna go at a high level and just get it usable so we can kind of talk about it. Big note though, caveat, not in all the browsers. This is the downside of using the platform. It takes a while for stuff to get to all the browsers. And this is actually old. I looked this up this morning. And it's still the same. Firefox is still not supported. I think the version numbers have been updated, but still not in Firefox, still not in IE. So this is why I'm using Chrome today, because normally I don't use Chrome. But so that's a big caveat. But let's get into the problem here. So first, I wanted to kind of just illustrate what a standard MPA looks like, just to refresh our memories, since we've probably all been doing spas for the last decade. I got a little example here, right? I got a little artist list, got my fave artist. I click Jill Scott, and then I go to the page. That's the typical strategy, right? Click a link, there's a little blip. Obviously, I exaggerated it there for the effect of the presentation. And then I go to the next page. A lot of times you try to go back, you get the same experience. So just a reminder of what we used to be doing. How can the Vue transition help? So this is I'm doing very high level, but this is a good little primer on what the Vue transition is doing. It's a document function that takes a function. You give it a function that's going to update your DOM. It doesn't matter how. That's for you to decide. Just update the DOM. And this start Vue transition is going to animate it. By default, it's going to do a crossfade. I got an example here that's going to show you the crossfade. That's all it is. It's taking what you normally do to update and then wrapping it with the start Vue transition. This fallback stuff up here, that's just because it's not in every browser. So if you're going to use this, make sure you defensively code against that. But let's see what that looks like in vanilla JavaScript. Because actually I should back up, right? This is update the DOM however you need it to update the DOM. Not even necessarily navigation, right? How do what we talked about was the navigation, right? This is the big story. So how do we take that and add it to navigation using vanilla JavaScript? So we're going to stay to the platform for this example. How does navigation work in the platform? Very simple. Add event listener, intercept it, and then do what you normally do. So a common example for navigation that I see is like you have some function that's going to go get the new content from the new page that returns. And then, of course, you update the DOM, however in the world you want to update it, but wrap it in that start Vue transition. So fairly straightforward, right? If you truly were doing navigation via the platform, this would be like a one-line change. Most of us probably are not using the platform for navigation though. So let's we'll get into some more realistic examples here. But first, let's just refresh our memory what that's going to look like. So previously, I click Jill Scott, I get a little blip. Now I get a crossfade. And that is the default animation. You'll see that in a little bit. This is me like mucking it up with slides to make it nice for presentations, but I've got some other things that will show you the real thing. Legitimately is what happens. Just with that right there, wrapping your existing logic around start Vue transition, you look like a professional. Let's get into some more realistic examples here. So now, as I mentioned earlier, I'm not a Chrome guy, so I hope I use the debugger correctly here because I'm going to show you some animations, but they're going to go fast. So hopefully I can use this debugger to slow them down so we can all see what in the world is happening. So that demo that I just did, that I mucked together for the slides, this is Google's version of that. I framed it in. I'll play it at full speed first. Got a low cross. Now let's see if I remember how to do this. 10%. There we go. Now we can just see it in slow motion. So everyone can kind of get a feel. Standard crossfade, I'll do it a couple of times so we can all kind of look at marvel at the beauty of this. Very simple. And if you go look at that demo, it legitimately is just take what we were doing before, wrap it in that function, Pretty awesome. But you know, oh, it made all my animations slow. I had to turn it off. What exactly is going on under the hood here? Like, it looked like magic. Let's kind of demystify this a little bit. So when you wrap that thing in the start view transition function, we get this little DOM tree that the platform's going to make for you. And these are pseudo elements. So refresh your CSS memory. You got like the colon before, colon after. This is another version of that. And what it does is it builds this DOM tree. We see view transition old. That is what was there before. It is effectively, I'm kind of simplifying this, but it's effectively taking a snapshot. Imagine like taking a screenshot. You update the DOM, now you get the new. So now we got 2 screenshots here. And it just applies a nice little animation on it. It's got some default CSS to give us that crossfade. It's a little more than a crossfade, a little more than just opacity 1 to opacity 0, but that's what we saw on that last page. So it's doing all that for you. Why am I trying to demystify this? Because of the fact that they're doing pseudo elements allows us to get fancy later. I think it's the next slide. Yes. So here, the next demo they have, they start, because these are CSS pseudo elements, now we can start doing CSS to it. Standard stuff. Animation duration 5 seconds. I don't even have to slow this one down. So we took the existing animation and we just slowed it down. This isn't a CSS talk, but that is like very basic CSS animation. Right? It's like your first demo is going to do that right there on your CSS animation. Crossfade, make it slow so I can actually demo it. There it is. Easy peasy. Let's get fancy because that's what we do. And let's look at the next example here. And again, this isn't a CSS talk, so I'll kind of blaze through some of this. But what's going on here? So we're finding some keyframes. We got a fade in, takes whatever we got. It goes from opacity 0 to whatever we got. Fade out, go to opacity 0 from wherever we got. We got another one that slides from the right. And we got another one that slides to the left. And then we start taking those pseudo elements and we start adding some fanciness. And a lot of the numbers here are just to make it like aesthetically pleasing. Definitely going to put this on tech. I think this is pretty fast. Let's see what that does. And we'll catch that. We got fade ins, we got fade outs. Notice how things are sliding in. All that is just pure CSS. Just like a little bit of JavaScript to wrap it up. So once you get this, it's like now the power is in your hands. Just, you can be as powerful as CSS, right? Made that transition. Sorry. Cool. So let's get even fancier, right? CSS is like an infinite bowl of complexity. Let's get deeper. So here we add a CSS property view transition name to the header, and just for the sake of everyone understanding, this purple bar, that is our main header. So we've taken that purple bar, put a view transition name. What's going to happen is we start to see our pseudo element tree now doubles. We get another one for a main header, and we get the same concept. There's an old and a new for our purple header right there. So what is just naming the element? What does that do for us? Slow this down. Or catching what happened there? To help your eye catch it, like look at the bottom of the purple bar. Notice how the white page is doing that slide and all that stuff that we defined previously, but our purple bar is back to our standard crossfade. So what we've done is we've separated this, as you can see here with the pseudo tree. Now we have 2 separate parts of our page that we can now CSS separately. So now we can start to do fancy stuff, right? And start to specify what kind of animations. Now we're definitely in the zone where, you know, we can be as dangerous as our designer wants us to be, right? Maybe it's too dangerous, but this is the power of just designing this API mostly on CSS. Let's keep getting fancier, okay? So now we've got another one. We've made another pseudo element deal. We transition a main header text. Just so everybody's aware, that is the demo site text, not just the purple bar. So now we're getting even deeper, not just the purple bar, but the title itself. again, so you can see that right here, actually. So we put this main header text on the text itself in the span. Okay. And then we added a width. So it's doing some CSS magic there, right? So what does that end up doing? Now we're starting to see that the text is animating differently, not only from the page, but from the header itself. I'll do it one more time. Focus on the demo site text. And it's actually never leading. It actually does not crossfade. We define the width, the static thing. And it's taking our screenshot and realizing, oh, I know on my old, that's the text. On my new, that's the text. Same width. I don't need to do that, right? This is fairly standard CSS animation stuff. Again, this isn't a CSS talk, but like now you just because of the way this is structured, we have the full tool belt of CSS in our hands. Pretty cool stuff. Now we go, yeah, so pretty cool stuff. This was the point of me making these slides. I was like, oh my God, CSS is pretty cool. I don't know jack shit about animations. This isn't a CSS talk, but like this made me feel like, oh, I need to go become a CSS animation wizard because I have now the power of page navigation, spa-like behavior without injecting a bunch of JavaScript in my apps. Pretty cool. That's a bonus. This isn't a CSS talk. Let's keep it moving. This also isn't a JavaScript meetup per se, right? This is a remix meetup. I mentioned earlier how I'm philosophically aligned with remixing platforms. So like that was part of the reason why I was even investigating this. So I'm like, well, if Remix embraces the platform, this is a platform thing. These things must go together like peanut butter and jelly, right? So let's take a look at how this would look inside Remix. Okay, so I got a basic Remix app. This is without the view transition, right? For Remix Pros, it should look fairly familiar. I got a nav link. That's a Remix component. Give it a route, do some classing, some styling, right? I've got an active nav marker here, which is my purple bar underneath home. I'm styling the active route based upon, I think it's just making the text purple. I think I was watching golf when that's why the pictures are going. So yeah, if you just do this out the box, what happens? Back and forth here, right? Standard stuff. It's just flipping. There's no animation. You can see the bars is hopping over. There's no animation there. So yeah, this is basically what would happen out the box, right? So let's see what happens when we start trying to start view transition. So what I did in my little project is I made myself a new component that is really just a wrapper around the remix. And what is the difference? Nothing about this is really like, it's pretty much exactly the same, except for this on-click hand. So what I did is I took the standard event, prevented it, from bubbling up, and then wrapped navigate to a start view transition. For those who aren't super familiar with Remix, this use navigate hook, that's a Remix hook. So if you need to navigate without this component, you can, which that's exactly what I want to do, right? So I want to navigate, but I want to wrap it around the start view transition. So what does that look like? Just that out the box. I didn't do anything else. Slow down the animation. Now my crossfade. Nothing fancy. I didn't even really have to do anything like super remixy. It's just like a one-click event. This is really just basic React. And I just wrapped my navigate. Now I am using the Remix navigate. So you can imagine if you're in a different framework. I haven't tried this with other frameworks, Next.js, Svelte, whatever their equivalent is. You just do the same thing. I would imagine. Don't quote me on that, but it certainly seems possible. And boom, basic stuff. Very cool. And of course, well, actually, let's compare it first, right? So this is vanilla on the left, Remix on the right. We saw this like slides ago, right? It's like take my navigation event, wrap it, intercept it, wrap it, boom, there's my update. And there's what I did over there, which is barely one-to-one, right? Like these look fairly similar. I'm accepting an event. Over here, it's a navigate event. Over there is on click. And I wrap my magic in a start view transition. Fairly similar. But of course, it's CSS. We gotta get fancy. All right, so here's what I did. Just this line right there, similar to what those Google demos did, is I took the active marker, which is the purple bar underneath home, and I just named it. And so, this should give me this. I get two different pseudo elements, and let's see what that looks like. How fancy is that? Coming from someone who is not a CSS guy, not an animation guy, in fact, I could do make it look like it's a mobile app like that in very little lines of code. I thought that was pretty freaking awesome. So I do want to go back, I guess I'll go back here. I kind of started out thinking like, oh, Remix is going to give me an advantage to using the platform. I'm now kind of thinking, probably not. I didn't go through all the other gazillion React frameworks that I'm assuming they all probably have some version of NavLink. Probably just on click, wrap the damn thing, and then I got it. So the way they designed this, because it's so CSS focused, the JavaScript layer is so thin to get this going, it really feels like you could use this anywhere. I think this great API design. But I do want to talk Remix though, because this is a Remix meetup. If you're familiar with Remix has this thing called use transition, which is now going to be very confusing for you. Now we got the platform's start view transition, and now we got Remix's use transition hook. But what I want to call out is that the next version, they're removing that bad boy. When I started looking at it, when I was trying to figure out how these two play together, I realized that they're renaming it to use navigation. And I think I know why they're doing that, because if you look at what they're using use transition for, it's more about pending and optimistic UI and less about transitions, which is use transition is probably not the right name for it. A little confusing now, but next version, that little oddity will be out. And I guess I should explain, just for those who don't know what pending and optimistic UI is. It's so optimistic UI is if you got a form, there's a chance that they hit submit and it errors out, like it's going to do a post, but maybe it's going to error out. But you kind of know 99.9% of the time it's going to work. So you can use this hook here to kind of investigate that, and then we'll not wait for the call to come back and just I'm going to be optimistic. I'm a very optimistic person. They're going to succeed. I'm just going to update the DOM or update the state, really, because you're using React. So update the state in such a way. I'm going to pretend that it worked. And if it doesn't work, then I'll undo it. But for the sake of performance, I'll just make it. That's kind of the stuff that this hook is meant for, which is a little different from what we were doing, right? Which is just animating navigation. So I get why they are going to change the name. So in conclusion, fairly short talk here. What did we learn? You don't really need a SPA framework to get SPA-like transitions. This isn't necessarily a Remix point. I thought maybe it would be, but it's not. But it kind of fits real nicely with Remix, right? Because that's what their whole philosophy is about. It's trying to get SPA behavior, but doing it server side and doing it with some of the platform-based stuff of regular old MPAs, aka web pages. So yeah, that is once again I did this big research into view transition and learned what I already knew. So that's it for me.
Any guidance for how long some of those transitions should take? At some point, are you going to slow a user down because your animation is so pretty and they have to look at it for 8 seconds?
That's a great question. So let's I know the answer, but I'm trying to lead everybody to the answer, right? This API is mostly a CSS API. Who is really good at CSS at typical companies? Designers. Who would know the answer to that question in a normal situation?
Front-end engineer.
Too optimistic. Yeah. So I think it's awesome that the API is I would just ask who I would always ask, right? This is like, this is CSS, this is design. I'll just go to designer, like, hey, is this shitty? And they're like, yeah, that's typically their standard answer. So, yeah. Any other?
There's probably some numbers around like what to expect between a page transition and maybe a small transition within the context of your page.
Yeah.
There's probably something around blocking somebody if they're trying to move quick. So if it's a big, pretty photography website, long transitions might be just fine. But if somebody's trying to fill out a bunch of forms, with a
Like
bunch
a
of
workflow,
fields, like they want to go.
For sure. And I'm pretty sure I've worked with designers who had like guides, and I don't think they invented these guides. So I'm assuming there's standards in the design world that's like how fast is too fast, how slow is too fast, or how slow is too slow.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
know there's
good
like
question.
that setting or query like reverse reduce motion or something like that. Where you
Yeah.
change.
Oh, so
the-
that's a great point, right? Because so for those who don't know what he's talking about the media break. Is it a media break point? Media query. There you go. That's the word. The media query, you can any user can set their browser to prefers reduce motion. So that way they don't have a bunch of like animation. Maybe they their eyes aren't good, whatever the case may be. But it's a CSS thing. The media query is a CSS, but this whole API is CSS. So it's like we can just use the same old media queries because it's common to like when you're doing those animation CSSing to wrap them in a media query for prefers reduce, not prefers reduce motion or something like that. That way, people who don't want to see animations don't get your animation. So all that still works. So it's all.
Yeah, you can imagine if you have vertigo or if you
Exactly.
just have a headache that day.
So it's accessibility thing.
Yeah, but even on top of accessibility thing, end-to-end tests get real flaky with a lot of
That's a good point.
animation.
That's a good
So you
point.
might want to turn off your animations just to run your Playwright or Cypress or Selenium or whatever browser does.
That's a good point.
Yeah, do you know if there's a way to use transition without having to have a multi-page web app? Like this API looks great if like maybe I was doing some server-side rendering, but if the user wants to go to another page, maybe it's acting like a single page web app because we have to load less resources.
So Remix is using a React router. React router is just like a standard piece. I think it's like the React router. Right? Like most people doing out a React app, they're probably using React router. So if it works with React router, I don't think it matters if you're MPA or SPA. It's just like, what is your router, right? So I think the answer to your question becomes just how powerful is your router? Does your router give you a way to take the navigation thing and wrap it in a start view transition? If so, you're good to go.
Yeah, I don't know. Does React Router support the view transition?
Yeah, I can see it. Right, because Remix is using, so that navigate, it's from Remix, but it's really from React Router.
Okay.
It's kind of bubbled it up. Any other questions?
Have you seen Astro's new view transition based router they're experimenting with?
I saw when I was doing the research for this and Google view transition, you get a couple things. That was one of them. It took me a while to realize, like, I'm watching an Astro video. So I've seen it. It seems to operate very similarly.
It basically uses all that same stuff, but
Oh,
it gives you some
it's using-
directives. They have polyfills for Safari and Firefox, and then they have directives that you can put right on the element for, and then like built-in transitions and things. So they give you some out of the box if you want some, commonly used transition.
So they're building like little tools on top of this. That's awesome. Is Astro like a weird platform, like use the platform? From
They're very much in that same sort of Remix philosophy. They use like the fetch API for everything, but they have this cool, it's like the whole Islands thing, but you can use any framework with it. So you can
Oh,
put
that's
like
right.
a solid
Yeah.
component and
That's
a
right.
React component and a spell component all on the same page. But now they're put
I
side router.
would love to see frameworks do that, right? Like, or I guess routers do that. Just add like a little layer on top of this thing that's already there. That'd be great.
I was listening, curious if React Router Remix will add some sort of abstraction over the view transactions API just to make it more user friendly.
Yeah. So that's a great point. Like when I was trying to figure out like, okay, how do I take the nav link and wrap the thing? Like I did kind of have to look like at the source code. I'm like, can I unclick on this thing? Right. It'd be great if it was just like a Boolean. If you want me to wrap this in a start view, that'd be great, like first class support. A man can wish, right?
This might not be the right question to ask you, so you're not like an animations guy, but do you know if like, if like Framer Motion or like GSAP or like any of those like popular animation libraries are using like this transition?
I don't know, but I'm gonna take a guess and say no, because this is fairly new. Like it came out fairly recently, like this year at bare minimum.
Oh,
And that, which is why it hasn't rolled out to all around. So if those libraries existed for a while.
Was gonna be the big holdup on adoption of this, because, I mean, unless they allow third,
Why am I not surprised?
well, all browsers on iOS use Safari.
Safari are the ones I'm waiting on, yeah. Any other questions? Well, sweet gang, appreciate it.
Did want to show really quick what you're talking about. The first reduced motion. So it's just this media query, right? So just like you do like at media, min width or whatever, to target things. So right now you see the animating box, but then if I go to my accessibility settings and just click reduce motion, it basically changed it. So yeah, that's pretty much all it is. So like if you were using this, you do want to be very mindful of all the different types of people will may for some reason have this turned on, be it vertigo or whatever. So yeah, always a good little tidbit. But yeah, in case you've never seen that, that's exactly what was being talked about there at the end.
Did you cook that up just now?
It's just on Ambient, so I did not make that. Don't worry. No. I am an expert stealer of other people's code. Do it, Judge.
do it the AI built into MD, yeah.
Yeah. Wait, they have AI now?
I don't, yeah, that's a whole thing.
MDN GPT.
It's a whole thing.
What's there? Oh, shoot. Beta. I gotta sign up. Okay, not doing that.
Like any other AI, it can be wrong about its own doc, so just heads up.
I'm often wrong about my own docs as well. So it's okay. I'm always looking for speakers. So if you have your own idea, or if this prompted you to maybe think about something that you'd like to present, as you can tell, this is the Remix meetup. So I usually, ask that there's something that ties into Remix. But as you saw, the page view transition really didn't have a ton to do with Remix. We just saw at the end there how to tie it together. So great example of just showing us really cool web stuff in general, and then tying into how does it maybe work in a remixy world, or why would Remix folks be interested in the ideas is always what I'm personally focused on. So lots of fun ideas up here. Accessibility, internationalization. I don't think we've had an internationalization talk yet. I'd really love to see that. There's been some conference talks, but it's always very, very difficult problem. So it's always fun to see how people kind of approach it. Just demonstrations always great. Just random lightning talks is basically I just went through the docs and just wrote things down. So just look at the docs for inspiration if you want to give a talk. And if you feel like you only have like maybe half an idea, you can always just come to talk to me and I'll give you the second half of your idea, and then you'll be presenting before you know it. And then another little thing in case, I think half the group is relatively new. So remixaustin.com is our actual website. So we use the Meetup just because it is more convenient for, organizing the event and getting people there. But remixaustin.com is also like a little project that we have. There's not a ton to it, but it's mostly like a landing page to get to the Meetup. And so Discord and other sorts of things. We got the signups right there. We also have a blog that we really need to write more on. So that's very largely on me. I've got some ideas. I guess one idea, if you're interested in, because this is on GitHub, you can see the link here. So you can get to it there. So if you have ideas, feel free to contribute. I need to write some more issues up. But one idea I've had is like I'd love to turn our the meetups into like a post every month, right? That would be really cool. That just has an embed to the YouTube and just maybe a short description of what happened. So I don't know if you want to even just like create the template of what that might look like. That'd be super cool. Something that I would appreciate help with. But yeah, all sorts of things you can do there. So that's just an easy way for us to be working together and writing stuff.
If I could help us style the blog.
Yeah, you can, if you have an eye for design, we would love colors. So
Feedback in MR form, PR form.
Animations, that's new.
yeah, there you go. I'm just gonna get back on animations. That'd be awesome. Yeah, for sure. We definitely would love some design help. And then finally, the next meetup is tentatively September 6th. Usually I try to make this the first Wednesday of the month. That's kind of what's been working recently. So mark your mental or physical calendars, but as always, I'll have the meetup event open when available. So yeah, thanks everyone for coming out. Thanks online folks for joining us. We still got this room for like another hour, so feel free to hang out and just chat. If there's food and you haven't eaten or you have eaten and you want more food, that's fine. I won't judge you. That's on you. So yeah, thanks everyone for coming out.